I always believed that family was everything. Growing up in a small town in Kentucky, that's how it was drilled into me. Blood over everything. My name's Cole Hartman, and if you'd met me 5 years ago, you'd think I had it all. I ran my own small construction company, had a beautiful wife named Jenna, and a smart, strong-willed daughter, Lily, who was the light of my life. I wasn't rich, but I was proud. I came from nothing. Our father was a drunk who beat on us, and our mother disappeared when I was 9. My younger brother, Trent, and I were all each other had for years. We survived together. He was my shadow growing up, always chasing after me, always trying to be just like me. But after high school, we took different paths. I stayed home and built my life from the ground up. He drifted. College, odd jobs, trouble with the law. And Jenna? She had been my high school sweetheart. We met in sophomore year, and by the time we were seniors, everyone thought we'd be married before graduation. They weren't wrong. We tied the knot at 19. A year later, Lily was born. I was terrified, but I stepped up. She was everything to me. I worked days, nights, weekends, whatever it took. Jenna stayed home with Lily for a few years, then started working at a local salon part-time. We weren't perfect, but we were solid, or so I thought. The first crack I should have noticed was when Trent came back into town. It was around the time Lily turned 2. He'd been gone for years. Calls on holidays, maybe a visit here or there, but suddenly he showed up needing a place to crash. Jenna was hesitant. I remember her asking, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" But I insisted. "He's my brother," I told her. "He's blood." So Trent stayed with us for about 6 months. He got a job working with one of my crews, then saved up enough to move out. Everything seemed fine. He even became like a second uncle to Lily. She adored him. Sometimes I'd come home late and find him helping Jenna with dinner or reading Lily bedtime stories if I was working overtime. I was grateful. I never once questioned his intentions. I never once questioned Jenna. Fast forward 16 years. Lily was a high school junior. Bright, fierce, top of her class. Jenna and I had grown a little distant, but I chalked it up to the years, to the routines, to aging. I thought we were still strong in the ways that mattered. But everything changed the day Lily got sick. It was nothing dramatic at first, a couple dizzy spells, feeling tired, minor stuff. But we decided to run some genetic tests to rule out inherited conditions, since Jenna's mom had passed from a rare disorder. That's when the doctor called me in. He sat me down and told me something I'll never forget. "Mr. Hartman, based on the results, it's biologically impossible for you to be Lily's father." At first, I thought he meant there was a mistake, or maybe I misunderstood. But then he showed me the test results. 2 more independent labs had confirmed it. I wasn't her biological father. And if that wasn't bad enough, the blood markers suggested something even worse. The match? 99.9% compatible with my brother. My mind shattered in that moment. I don't even remember the drive home. I remember staring at the road and feeling my hands tremble on the wheel. Every memory, every late night, every giggle and story time and first day of school, it all twisted into something I didn't recognize anymore. I was a joke. I was the sucker, raising another man's child, my own brother's. That night I didn't confront Jenna. I just watched her. The way she smiled while pouring wine, the way she kissed me on the cheek and asked me how my day was, the way she acted like everything was normal. And it was then I realized they'd lied to me for over 16 years. They stole my life, my fatherhood, my trust. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw punches. I was going to destroy them both. Quietly. Thoroughly. Irrevocably.
I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside Jenna, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long she'd been lying to me. Did it start when Trent moved in, or had it been going on before that? Every smile, every "I love you," every moment we spent raising Lily, was all of it a lie? The next morning, I went through our old photo albums. There it was, plain as day, Lily's eyes, her jawline, her laugh. How had I been so blind? She didn't look like me. She looked like Trent. I always brushed it off before, but now I couldn't unsee it. I needed answers, but I wasn't going to ask, not yet. I wanted proof. I wanted to know how deep the betrayal went, so I started digging, quietly. I went through Jenna's old emails, ones she'd left logged in on the family computer. I found deleted messages between her and Trent, some flirty, others deeply personal. They dated back years, some from when Trent was still living with us. The most recent one was just 2 months ago. "Sometimes I think about what we had," he wrote. "Wonder how life would have turned out if things were different." She replied, "It's better this way. No one ever found out, and Lily has the life she deserves." That was it. Confirmation. They both knew. They'd hidden it all this time, watching me raise her like a fool. I didn't know how to look at Jenna anymore. Or Lily. And that hurt the most. Because no matter what the blood said, she was still my daughter. But I couldn't ignore the truth. I needed to act. I started meeting with a lawyer in secret. I told him everything and asked what my options were. He told me, "Legally, you're her father. But if you want to go after them, you need more." So I hired a private investigator. I told him I needed every detail, where Trent was now, if they were still in contact, any recent meetings. I needed a timeline, a pattern, a hole I could dig them both into. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the part. Loving husband, caring dad. I smiled at breakfast, kissed Jenna goodnight, helped Lily with college prep. But behind the mask, I was building my revenge, brick by brick. And the first blow would come sooner than they ever expected.
The investigator moved fast. Within a week, I had a manila folder in my hands thicker than any illusion Jenna and Trent had ever built. Photos, time-stamped logs, phone records, emails. Even a few clandestine meetings over the last year. They had met 3 times in person. Once last summer when Jenna claimed she was visiting her sick aunt, another during a girls' retreat in the fall, and the last time, just 3 weeks ago, right under my nose. She told me she was at a book club. Turns out she was in a motel 2 towns over with my brother. The photos burned into my brain. Trent with his same smug smile, Jenna looking at him like she used to look at me years ago. It was enough to make me want to burn the world down. But I didn't. Not yet. I had to be smart. Calculated. I wasn't going to confront her in the kitchen and shout and cry. That's what she would expect. I wanted them to feel exposed, cornered, like rats. I started laying traps. The first one was subtle. I left a printed copy of one of their emails tucked into Jenna's purse. Just a taste. I wanted her to wonder how it got there. To squirm. To panic. I watched her that evening, sitting across from me at dinner, staring at her plate, barely eating. She looked up at me once, and I held her gaze just long enough to make her shift in her seat. She didn't say anything. Not yet. 2 days later, I called Trent from a burner phone. I disguised my voice, kept it short. "She's slipping. You should talk to her before this whole thing explodes." Then I hung up. No names, just pressure. The investigator kept tabs on both of them. They met again 2 nights later, this time not in a motel, but in Jenna's car, parked behind a grocery store. I had audio. She was scared. He was irritated. "Why are you panicking now?" he hissed. She said, "I think he knows. I found one of our emails in my purse. He's acting different." "Then fix it," Trent snapped. "We're too deep in this." That was the moment I knew they still thought they had control. That they could manage me, steer this ship back to calm waters. They had no idea they were already sinking. I started moving our finances. Quietly. I diverted funds, froze accounts, and pulled our home equity. I spoke to my lawyer about rewriting my will. If Jenna wanted to play games, I was going to flip the board. Meanwhile, Lily was preparing for her scholarship interview. She was so excited, so proud, and it killed me because I loved her. Truly, whether or not she was mine by blood, I had raised her. But I couldn't let sentiment cloud justice. So I ordered one more test, a paternity test, just to have it all, undeniable, on paper. When it arrived in the mail, I sat in my office alone for almost an hour. And when I finally opened it, everything stopped. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. I was not the biological father. Trent was. I sat in the quiet of my home office, the paternity test clutched in my hand like a blade. I wasn't shocked, not anymore. I was hollow, the kind of hollow that only truth can carve out of you. For 17 years, I had built my life around a lie they carefully painted into every corner of my home. The photo albums, the birthday parties, the family vacations, all a performance. And now, the mask had cracked, and the ugly truth oozed out from behind it. But I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to destroy them, slowly, methodically, and publicly. I made copies of the paternity test, the emails, the photos. I stored them on cloud drives, encrypted hard drives, even mail the copy to my lawyer. I wasn't going to risk losing the evidence. Then, I scheduled a meeting with Trent. I told Jenna I was going on a business trip. She kissed me goodbye, called me babe, and reminded me to eat healthy. I smiled. I said, "Of course, love." That word tasted like poison now. I met Trent in a downtown cafe. He looked nervous, but tried to play it cool. "What's this about?" he asked, sipping his coffee like this was just another casual check-in. "You lied to me. You betrayed me." He tilted his head, smirked. "Come on, man. If this is about Jenna, she told you I didn't know. She was wrong." I slid the folder across the table. He opened it and went pale. "That's your daughter, Trent, not mine. You knew. You've always known." He stammered. "It was one night, years ago. We didn't plan—" "Don't insult me with 'it just happened,'" I said coldly. "You two didn't just have a one-night stand. You carried on. You made me raise your child while you kept sneaking around with my wife. You think I didn't see how she looked at you at Thanksgiving, at Lily's school plays? You thought I was that stupid?" He didn't answer. His silence was admission. "I want you to listen very carefully," I said, leaning in. "You're going to disappear from our lives. No contact with Jenna, no contact with Lily. You're going to sell your house and move out of state, and you're going to do it quietly. Because if you don't, I'm sending every shred of this to your wife, your boss, your church, and your daughter." His jaw tightened. "You can't do that!" "Watch me." He left the cafe without finishing his drink. 2 days later, his house went up for sale. I wasn't done. Jenna was next. I waited for her to return from yoga. She walked in, humming, sipping her green smoothie. I handed her the folder. "Sit down," I said. She frowned, flipped through the contents, and then froze. Her color drained. "I can explain." "You've been explaining for 17 years. This is me talking now." She broke. She dropped to her knees, crying, begging. "Please, it was a mistake. He meant nothing. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you." "You weren't scared. You were greedy. You had the best of both worlds. The stable husband, the forbidden thrill, and you let me build a life around your fantasy." I told her I had already filed for divorce, that she would receive nothing beyond the legal minimum, that Lily would be staying with me, for now, and that the truth would come out when I was ready to reveal it. And then I told her something she didn't expect. I loved you. I really did. That's the part I'll never forgive. She packed her bags that night. I watched her leave without a word. Lily asked where her mom went. I lied. I said she needed time away. I wasn't ready to destroy her world just yet. But the clock was ticking. I had one more move left, and it had to be perfect, because when I lit the final match, there'd be no turning back. That night, after Jenna's car pulled out of the driveway, I sat on the front porch with Lily asleep upstairs and stared at the empty street. The air felt different, cleaner, quieter, like a storm had passed and the world was hushed in its wake. I clutched a photo of all three of us, me, Jenna, and Lily, taken 6 months before I knew the truth. I remembered the laughter, the sense of family. I almost cried, but I didn't, because crying wouldn't change anything. The next morning, I filed the divorce papers. I kept it simple. No contested hearings, no scandal in public court. Legally, Jenna got half the marital property, but I'd already moved key assets, my shop, my savings, even Lily's college fund, into trusts protected from spousal claims. It wasn't petty revenge. It was safeguarding our future. I told Lily the truth in gentle pieces over weeks. No graphic details, just enough that she knew I loved her, that she was always mine in every way that mattered, and that Mom had made mistakes. She cried, angry and confused, but clung to me. We rebuilt our home life with routines and honesty. Saturdays became daddy-daughter days. Go-karting, museum trips, cooking pancakes. She flourished. Honor roll, soccer practices, new friends. She became the fearless kid I always knew. Jenna tried to reach out once, a month later, begging forgiveness. I responded with a single line and a text. We're done. No explanation needed. Trent vanished. The sale of his house covered the divorce settlement almost exactly. He moved back east, got a low-paying job, and I heard through the grapevine he lived out of a run-down apartment. He sent me a letter once. 2 sentences. I'm sorry. I don't deserve forgiveness. I filed it away. Maybe one day I'd write back. Or maybe not. I focused on my life, my business, my daughter, my own healing. I hired a manager for my shop so I could mentor Lily's robotics team. I volunteered at the community center, teaching kids to code and fix bikes. I spoke at a local fatherhood event about honesty and perseverance. My story, once defined by betrayal, became one of resilience. One evening, as Lily and I sat on our porch swing sipping lemonade, she looked up at me and said, "Dad, I'm glad it's just us. You and me." My heart swelled. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. I placed a hand on her shoulder, feeling her warmth in the fading light. The past still lingered like a shadow, but I'd turned its darkness into fuel for our new life. I hadn't just survived betrayal. I'd forged a bond stronger than blood. Family isn't just who you live with, it's who stands by you when the world falls apart. And in the end, when the dust settled, I stood alone and free, with Lily by my side, ready to write the next chapter on our own terms.